How's it going, everybody? My name is Warner Fields with Fields of Profit. I'm a six-figure Amazon seller and full-time student, and in this video I'm going to be sharing with you some of the tips that I've used to scale my business from $10,000 to $15,000 to $20,000 a month, all the way up to, I did 63 very recently. This last month I did 55. I've been crazy busy with some school and that kind of stuff, but I think that some of these tips will be super useful for you guys. Before we jump into the meat of the video, if you guys want to go ahead and check out our completely free Discord, that's going to be linked down below. We've got tons of ungating information in there, lots of sourcing questions answered. There's over 7,000 people in there. It's growing super fast, and I would love to see you in there. But let's go ahead and jump into the video. So the first thing that's going to help your business scale, and maybe even the most important thing in this video, is to make sure that you're using as much capital as you possibly have access to. It sounds harder than it is, like, oh, just go get more money. But realistically, there are ways that you can go out and increase your spending power. That's what it's all about, because with Amazon, we have an asset basically that we can use to invest our money and grow it at an easy 30 to 40% return on investment with very conservative OA and wholesale products. If you're doing books or something like that, it's going to be even crazier return on investment on those dollars you spend. So our goal as Amazon sellers is to spend as many dollars at those conservative ROIs as we possibly can. And one way that I've been able to increase my spending power is with credit cards. This is definitely up to your own personal risk tolerance, but there are some credit cards that are better than others. Personally, I recommend the Amex Business Blue. This is the card that I use. There's no fee on it. I also use the Amex Business Gold, but there is a fee on that one, so I wouldn't recommend that unless you're really spending a really good amount of money already. But with the Amex Business Blue, the nice thing about it is you can actually spend over your credit limit, but you just have to pay that back at the end of your balance. So it's a little bit complicated there on the back end with the credit card, but it will increase your spending power, at least in the short term. It'll unlock extra dollars that you can spend, and in the worst case scenario, you're unlocking more credit for your business. With that card, you can actually link it to your business, so you can start building business credit with that. So that's a nice little benefit there. And worst case scenario, you're still getting 1 to 1.5% back on all of your purchases that way. One other card that I really like to use is the Chase Sapphire Preferred. They give pretty big limits. You do have to have decent credit history to get that card. I have a link down below for you guys to get 100,000 points if you guys want to check that out, as well as there's a bonus with that Amex, but that's just in case you want to go ahead and check that out. I'm not trying to sell you on anything there, but genuinely a great way to increase your Amazon business as a whole is to increase your spending power. I think that's one of the most important concepts as Amazon sellers, is every dollar in your inventory budget has to be spent as fast as possible so that we can keep turning that money over. Amazon's a volume game. Keep those sales flowing. Keep cutting your prices if you need to so that you can get that money back and spend it on other assets with higher return on investment. So that kind of segues us to my next tip that I had for you guys as far as scaling your business to the next level, and that's to focus on the return on investment, or focus on your ROI of your business. I used to care a lot more about margins. Margins are important, but the margins will come with finding good return on investment. As long as you are meeting your return on investment threshold for my business, the products that I sell, I want to meet at least a 35% return on investment threshold. So I can spend $1,000, and next month or 6 weeks from now, after we account for Amazon checking everything in, that $1,000 I spent should be $1,350, and then I spend that again, and then another month to 6 weeks later, that grows by another 35%. So you can see how the compounding works. Margin is just a different metric. It's based more on things that you can't control as much. So I think it's a lot more important to think about your spending in terms of return on investment. If you think I'm wrong about this, drop a comment. I'd be interested to hear your perspective on this, but I think return on investment is an extremely important metric to look at when you're scaling your business. Make sure that you're meeting that threshold, and sometimes you might even want to go below that threshold to meet certain volume in your store. So for example, some of my replenishables, the return on investment is as low as 25%, but I'm selling those products 3 to 5 to 10 times a day sometimes. So the volume there is definitely worth it. Because that's almost guaranteed money. One other thing you're going to want to look at if you're considering a product with lower return on investment is the keeper graph. Make sure that that keeper graph has a very consistent price line. We want to make sure that those low ROIs, like 25 to 30%, we want to make sure that those returns are guaranteed. If they're not guaranteed, then you're not going to take those returns. That's where if you see fluctuation in the Keepa graph, your ROIs need to be 40, 50% or higher to make it worth that risk. So you need to be pricing in the risk. You need to be pricing in the return rate of that item potentially. So maybe a grocery item, like some of my replens are that 25% ROI consistent seller. If you have a apparel replenishable or just a apparel item that has a 25% return on investment, you might want to reconsider that just because of how high the return rates are in that category. So that could influence that decision as well. There's a lot that goes into that, but I really think you should be focusing a lot on your return on investment in your business. So the third thing that's super important in growing your business, this is kind of what helped me take my business from that $15,000 to $20,000 a month mark and triple that lately. That you're probably not going to want to hear this one, but honestly, it's networking through meeting some friends, from making videos like this, or in your case, if you want to join Facebook groups and network with people, or if you want to join our free Discord down below. Shameless plug there, but we've got lots of networking that goes on in there as well. But really, having those friends in the Amazon space who you can bounce ideas off of, text people with product ideas, anything like that, that's going to be something that's super beneficial for your business. I know that me and some of my friends who I've met from making content, from putting myself out there, from messaging people on Discord and stuff like that, we've got little masterminds and stuff where we text people like, hey, this item's good again, let's buy this item. So I think that's super important. If you don't already have something like that in your business, try to get something like that. So whatever that looks like for you, for your business, for whatever you're comfortable with, whether that's messaging people online saying, hey, let's kind of connect, let's make a little bit of a mastermind, or if that means and if you already make a little bit of content, then keep making some more content. Maybe you'll make some connections through that. Start messaging people saying, hey, let's connect. I think that's a super important part of growing your Amazon business. I would say it's probably the number one thing that's helped me grow, probably right up there with capital scaling. But networking has been super major for me. I know you don't want to hear that because it's not the easiest step to take. You've got to put yourself out there and meet new people, but I really think it's important to grow your business. So another thing that helped me grow my business was hiring virtual assistants. If you're not familiar with what a virtual assistant is, essentially it's just someone who works for you. They're a contractor, nothing fancy by any means. I hire mine from the Philippines. If you want to see a longer video on how to hire a VA, I have a video up in that corner that might be useful for you. That process I filmed like the week after I hired my first VA, so it was fresh in my mind. It's really not that complicated of a process. If you've been on the fence about it, I would highly recommend going ahead and hiring a VA. They can simplify your life. You can give them some of those tasks that you're spending a little bit too much time doing, something that you need to delegate, whether that's product sourcing. I've delegated a lot of product sourcing to my virtual assistants, and that's been super helpful. Here before too long, I'll probably be delegating even the spending, the restocking of my store. So at scale, you can really automate a lot of things within your business using virtual assistants. A couple quick tips for you guys if you are going to hire a VA. That longer video I mentioned is going to kind of walk you through the process, but there are a couple quick things I will mention. Number one is make sure you give your applicants a test of whatever task you want them to do. For me, that was product sourcing, so I gave them a brief test about Keepa and then had them find a couple leads for me to make sure that they know what a good lead looks like. You're then going to interview them. I personally use Skype. You can use whatever, but you're just going to want to make sure you can talk with them, make sure that they're a decent communicator, make sure you vibe with them, make sure that that's someone you want to work with, because ideally you'd be working together for a very long time. So I personally have 6 VAs now. Not all of those are directly finding products for my store. I have some of them doing some other things, but if you kind of think about it this way, so I have the VAs who find me products to buy, and then I just look at the leads and spend the money, and then I send it off to across town. My high school sister preps my products for you. There's another little thing for you. If you guys are tired of prepping your products, if you've got somebody in the house who wants to make a little bit of extra money, maybe you're a parent, or if you're a college guy, maybe you've got college friends who you could hire for $15 an hour to prep your products. It doesn't have to be super fancy as far as hiring someone to prep your products. I think it can be super helpful. But if you kind of break it down that way, people are finding the products, I'm just spending the money and sending it to someone else who then ships it into Amazon. So it's really not difficult at all to kind of get fairly automatic with things, especially on online arbitrage. arbitrage because everything really is so online. Another option is if you don't really have any options for hiring someone, you're not quite at the scale to hire someone part-time or full-time to prep your products, you can also use prep centers. Prep centers can be a great option for you. You should expect to spend about $1 or so per unit. That can be a really nice way to kind of outsource that work. So to really scale your business to that next level, you're going to need to be doing as little as possible, especially of the grunt work. You're going to want to make sure that you're outsourcing that as much as possible. If you're spending any significant amount of time doing one task and it can be outsourced, you should look into how much it would cost to outsource it, kind of factor in the hourly that you consider that you would make if you kind of divide what you're making by the hours you're working. If that hourly is lower, you should be outsourcing that task. That's kind of one way to look at it. But that is pretty much all the tips I had for you guys for growing my business. Hopefully you found this useful. It was a little bit of a different style video, but these are really some things that I really believe in my business. Has helped me grow really a lot. Like I said, I've been able to triple my sales over the last couple months using some of these more intermediate to advanced strategies. But if you do implement these in your business, I promise you're going to see results. Again, if you want to join our free Discord, that's going to be linked down below. And if I've helped out your business in this video, hopefully I have. If you've watched to this point, I would really appreciate you hitting that subscribe button down below. That helps out my business. Let's make this a fair trade here. And as well, if you have any questions, feel free to drop those down below and I'll answer those as well. But I really appreciate you guys watching, and I will see you next time.